You're listening to Season 2 of Dangerous Drag Queens and Other Deviants, a production of Virtual Arts.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dangerous Drag Queens and Other Deviants. I'm Gret.
I'm Larry.
And I'm Christy. In this episode, we're talking once again to our good friend, Cherry Javier, and this time she's bringing her partner, Sarello, along. They're going to talk to us about a very incredible journey they've been on. Take it away.
Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, Cherry and Sarello. I'm in Portugal, so it's 1 a.m. for me here. But Cherry, yeah, I'm always meeting your family on Zoom at the oddest hours, right?
Yeah, we got to make it work, and luckily we're very dynamic, so we'll always meet you where you're at.
Gotta make it work. Sorello, how are you today?
So good. It's nice to meet y'all. Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Very
thanks
nice
for
to meet
coming.
you. Yeah, so I saw online that you're doing a fundraiser. And can you tell us a little bit about what that fundraiser is?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I am on my journey of getting my gender affirming care. That can look like a lot of different things for a lot of different people. In this case specifically, I'm going into FFS, or also called facial feminization surgery. Nowadays, you might also hear it called facial harmonization surgery, but it's when they just go in and they smooth out some of your rough edges, and they just help you kind of meet the goals that you want to for your appearance. So it's an exciting process. It is a little scary to be going under, to be on that table, but it's something that I've been wanting to do. It's been a long process in terms of just, it takes about a year just to get the appointment. And then you have a bunch of kind of pre-work that you do, but there's a waiting list and everything. So lucky to be, I have an insurance provider who covers these things, but there's still a lot of additional costs to it. And then you add on the aftercare, as well as the wages lost from taking time off work, having someone take care of you, and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm going under on December 4th. So yeah, we've been fundraising just to help close some of the gaps.
Oh, I think that is so great. And I'm so happy that you're being able to have this next part of surgery and adaptation. I'm not even sure exactly how to phrase it, but it's very exciting, Cherry.
Yeah, and a
Yeah,
long
thank
wait. My
you.
goodness. I think a lot of people don't maybe pay attention to that part, time alone, never mind resources and
Mhm.
emotions and all of those things, but the time alone is pretty dramatic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something where it's not always available in all parts of the country. One, just like you don't always have surgeons available to do it. We've also been seeing an increase in just gender affirming care being criminalized. And so there's that aspect as well. And then in places like San Francisco, where we do have more trans folks, you just have a higher number of people who are on the wait list. And so they'll be working on a few people every day. But still only a handful of surgeons who really specialize in this kind of gender affirming surgeries.
Mm.
Yeah, we have a fairly decent knowledge, I think, of the transgender world, but even I was not, what did you call it? Feminine. What did you
Yeah.
call the surgery? That wasn't one that was on my radar, but I always think of like top surgery more
Mhm.
so or other. But yeah, that's really fascinating
Yeah.
and great. I mean, of course, that would be something you'd want to do.
Yeah. So it's FFS, facial feminization surgery. But yeah, more generally, facial harmonization. And then for trans men or trans masc people, they do have facial masculinization surgery. You don't hear about that as often just because there's some differences in visibility for folks. But yeah, so the spectrum and then other surgeries you might hear of is sex reassignment surgery, or also called bottom surgery. And then, like you said, top surgery, which Sorrell's had his own journey with that recovery. And then for trans women, you have breast augmentation surgery, a good old boob job.
Yeah.
Ah, so this is a surgery to help make your face feel more feminine.
Yeah, yeah. So it really depends on what people want. There's a lot of different ways that it can happen. So that'll look like, they'll do some stuff to your orbital bones, or they'll readjust your hairline. They'll do fat grafts. Fat implants to your cheeks or liposuction, jaw contouring or reduction. I don't want to call it like a lip lift or rhinoplasty. So there's a large variety of things that you can get. Some people really want to look like a completely different person. Other folks just want, like I said, some of the rough edges smoothed out a little bit and kind of maintain their original look, if you will. I think for me, it's always been something where I've been very comfortable with myself. It is nice to have these things available to you if you so choose. And especially, I think a large part of the calculus for me has been knowing that we're entering an environment and an age that is increasingly hostile to trans folks. And it is just the reality that like the superficial parts of ourselves also do affect how we're treated, and that if you look a little softer and you look a little more feminine, that can actually be the difference between facing harassment and discrimination. So it can mean danger or safety. And so for me, I'll also, as we explore parenthood, a whole other conversation, but we're almost 11 weeks there right now with
How exciting.
yeah. So
We're so excited for you guys. Congratulations.
Thank
What
you.
a phase
Yeah,
of life to be approaching. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah. So super exciting, and I'm happy to talk about that more. But it also brings up the difficulty of one being trans people who are going to be parents, and knowing that that brings heightened scrutiny. Trans people plus children is already a huge kind of trigger
Yeah.
point for a lot of politics as well. So knowing that, I think it's an extra step taking for myself, but also to hopefully make it a little easier to move through the world and feel comfortable in spaces other than just like our bubble of San Francisco.
Right.
Right, because you're going to travel. You're at least going to travel to Hawaii, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hawaii's so far throughout my life been a wonderfully affirming place full of community and diversity of identities. But yeah, we do like to travel. We'll see what we can manage once the baby comes. But yeah, I mean, traveling is always something that we want to do.
So you're going to go and be in Hawaii for what, 3 months or something?
About 2.5 to 3 months. We'll probably move back like mid-April, probably around 32 or 34 weeks, because that's when I have to stop traveling.
Right.
So I'll finish out my last month of pregnancy there. We'll have the baby at home with the same midwife that delivered all three of her siblings. Yeah,
Wow.
she's at 1,700 births, and we just talked to her the other
Oh my
night.
gosh.
Wow.
That's so special.
Yeah. And then we'll probably stay throughout June and maybe, I think, come back around the beginning of July and finish out our parental leave here at home. And it'll be nice to just acclimate being back in the city in such a busy hub and just let everyone bombard us and visit the baby, stuff like that.
Yeah, and they will.
Yeah.
They yeah.
Well, a lot of our siblings and some of our best friends are going to come to see us once we have the baby. But I'm excited because I've been ready to move back to Hawaii since she took me my first time. And I'm
Oh,
like,
I bet.
let's go. But it'll be nice to just be at peace and be in a different bubble that's really quiet, especially being a seahorse dad. I think that's something that before I met Cherry, I was like, I would never do that. And then I met her and I was like, please let me have your babies. And it's something we both have always wanted. And it's nice that we're finally there. And it's interesting because I just watched the podcast that Cherry was on in June. And she literally finished with saying, we're trying to have a baby. And we got married at Pride at the end of June. And yeah, just we're 11 weeks along now. And it's been an exciting and tiring journey, but
I'm sure.
it's definitely worth not being on hormones this whole year. So we took our last shot on New Year's. And I think that's another thing that's hard is choosing to just set hormones aside when that is such gender affirming care. I've been on testosterone for 6 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And I was very much wondering that of how that the
yeah,
hormone
and
aspect of it worked. And I'm also wondering,
yeah.
how are you feeling?
Much better now. I think the
Okay.
first few months for us was a little rough.
I
Just
can't imagine.
just all of our like injected hormones depleting and
Right.
kind of all of our old hormones coming
Yeah.
back. And I think it was really nice to go through the dysphoria together and to deal with the changes coming back in our bodies together, knowing that we were making space to have a baby. And it's one of those things where, according to most research and most people's experience, it takes over a year. And for us, it was
Yeah.
just under 9 months.
Wow.
So we're super lucky.
Yeah.
We're super lucky. And yeah, I'm glad we could do it the free biological way. It's been a great experience. And You know, now she'll get to go back on hormones probably after her FFS. But yeah, just navigating trans parenthood and being a seahorse dad. You know, my work has been pretty supportive. It's been a rough first trimester, but I'm just about out of it, and the morning sickness is just about gone. I did not expect the exhaustion. I'm literally leaving work early every day to come home and take like 1 2 hour naps. I
Yeah.
like need it. And just as someone who's been in the coffee industry for 13 years and has also been a stoner for just as long, I can't handle either. And not even the smell. And
Wow.
I did not expect that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, coffee really like kickstarted my morning sickness and I was devastated.
Oh,
Devastated.
you're
I'm
like,
like,
not
please drink
this,
all the coffee
anything
for
but
us.
this.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is awful. This is also my livelihood. Like,
Ah, right? You can't
Oh
avoid
man.
it.
yeah.
Man. Oh,
So I
man.
just like want milkshakes all the time.
In the world that you live in San Francisco, which is a very appreciative of the trans culture, do you see many families like yours that are having children? This must be fairly unusual.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's funny as we have more conversations with folks and disclose about the pregnancy, there's more people who have been involved in parenting and birth work than we've expected. So there are a lot of gender queer folks, lesbian, gay folks who have children in the city. I would say it is more rare to have like a trans man and a trans woman who are having children together. You know,
Mhm.
usually you might have one partner who's trans and another cisgender partner.
Mhm.
So we've definitely seen a lot of configurations like that, but ours specifically is I would say it's a bit more unique, but we did know that it was possible. One of the things we had seen an article in I think, Them magazine,
Both and apparel.
both and apparel, and they had a blog and they did an expose on a couple who is in a similar position as us, a trans man and a trans woman, who had done the same thing where they both went off of hormones, gave their bodies time to re-regulate, and then had a baby. And
Mhm.
so we saw that and we were like, why not
Mhm.
us?
And very similar to us, the wife is very immersed in her own house and design, and she does a lot of stuff in like the trans femme world. And he's a chef in the industry, and he hid his pregnancy the entire time, and they got pregnant right on their last try, and they were gonna give up after that. And I think that's really what started us like, oh, we should actually just try this because I'm going to be 32. And when I started considering it, I was still on hormones. So I was just asking my doctors and stuff. So they just started automatically going the IVF route and starting the test that way and the conversations that way. So that's actually how we started talking about it. And then this article came out, and I was like, actually, on New Year's, we took the leap and we were like, okay, we'll try this for a year and then we'll go from there. But yeah, I feel like it is definitely a lot more rare. There's a lot more genderqueer, non-binary folks that are parents, but again,
Of
you don't
course.
really see a lot of couples like us that are biologically having children.
I mean, it's kind of indescribable. I'm 70 years old, so in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And how can I talk about it? But it seems perfectly logical as I sit here talking to you two.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the possibilities. I'm not a person who has limited possibilities in my mind. And yet, that's one thing I never thought of. But I think it's so incredibly, it's just remarkable
Yeah.
that you're making this decision because Juan and I faced some anger when we adopted our son from certain people. They'd say, "Oh, your grandson is so cute." And when they understood that then it was my child,
Mhm.
many times attitudes would change totally, like
Mhm.
kind of like I'm doing now, like what?
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? And also this child, what an amazing journey this child will have.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that I never imagined until recently.
Yeah,
And
same.
yeah, and it's funny to have gone through these processes of exploring sexuality, exploring gender identity, and then coming back to having re-engineered like a heterosexual relationship. that's like monogamous with two people who are trying to have a baby right after marriage. All of a sudden, we're back on this very normative path with kind of the pieces a little different.
Right.
And so I think there are times, we've disclosed to both of our families and a lot of our community. And I think one of the funniest reactions that we get is people will, for some reason, assume that I'm carrying the child, like when they first are
Yeah.
conceptualizing things, and they'll be like, oh, wait, never mind. That's not possible.
Right.
And
Now that
then,
I've thought this through.
Yeah.
yeah. But everyone has been really supportive, and that's been such a blessing. And, kind of what Sarello had alluded to earlier around the ideas of trans people and infertility. When you start hormones, they tell you you'll be infertile for the rest of your life and you will never be able to have children. And that's just kind of where they are because they are lacking so much on research on trans people that they just think it's safer to tell you that you won't ever be able to have children than saying, well, maybe we don't really know yet. And they don't actually get into the nuance of it until you start exploring those options. But for those reasons, the state of California pays for fertility preservation that you can take advantage of prior to starting your hormones. So when I had started my hormones the second time around after the pandemic and life was a little more stable, insurance coverage was more stable, I had postponed the start of my hormones so that I could go through blood work and then go through getting my genetic material with a cryobank and stuff like that. So we had been thinking of a variety of ways to do it, but we kind of realized we could do it the free way. It might be a little,
it might be a little rough.
Yeah.
And I think because it is more rare, everyone we have told in community has just been like overjoyed. We've already been telling everyone we were really trying, and over the last month we've been telling everyone, and everyone's just like, can I be a godparent? When's the baby shower? This baby's gonna be so loved. And I think that's the exciting part, is we're both so immersed in our trans community that we're looking forward to having a huge baby shower in like February, March, because trans people don't get to have that. So it'll be nice to just have
No, they
a big
don't.
baby shower for our entire community to come to. It's a nice reminder to have so many people be like, your baby's going to be so loved. You're going to have so many aunties and uncles. And I think that's also really important, especially as queer and trans folks. I was nervous to tell my parents because I haven't had the most supportive or great relationship as the Javiers are. And I've, over the last 2 years, have been like rekindling my relationship. But as soon as they met Cherry, they were obsessed, which is interesting because they didn't even like having a lesbian daughter, let alone finding out I was later a trans son. And now they have our pictures on the fridge. They're obsessed with Cherry. They're always just like, how's Cherry? What's Cherry doing?
How
They want to
fantastic.
just give us stuff. Everything is Cherry themed, which is fantastic. So when we told them, they were just overjoyed and they were crying, and everyone's been excited. And now that we've announced, like, her whole extended family is finding out, and they've all just been like, how are you guys feeling? This is so exciting. And I think that's been really reassuring for both of us, because I know sometimes as trans people, you don't outright say anything to your family. You just show up, and
Yeah.
sometimes, especially on our Filipino sides, it's a little easier to just show up and say nothing and then, hope for the best.
Yeah,
But
that Filipino side, it's interesting because it's either all gay in or all straight out. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's been great so far, and it's made me feel a lot better about being a seahorse dad and caring and stuff like that. And working in a tech space is interesting because I'm like, oh, I'm hiding this. I don't know how people are gonna feel, but queer and trans people aren't new to most
Oh,
spaces.
they're going to be
And
intrigued.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not so much that they're against it, they just aren't exposed. Aren't exposed to this. And for someone like me, this is the greatest news. People need to know. So I think that's another reassuring side, and something we've been trying to
Yeah.
figure out is how to publicly share our journey in a way that is safe and educational.
Yeah, you're the perfect two people to share this journey and it not be so weird that you can't look at it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You two somehow seem normal in your oddness. Okay.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting watching Cherry's last interview with y'all, because she was talking about, well, a lot of our existence is because we have transestors who have insisted that we continue to exist. And I think
Yeah.
along our baby journey as people have been like, oh, you guys want to have kids right now? Oh, with this administration. And I think that is a large reason why, because like this is in itself resistance. And
Oh yeah,
I think for
absolutely.
us, it's really important. We both are very,
Absolutely.
very involved in the trans community. And we've done a lot of work in the community and just we're very, very involved. And I think it helps with visibility, it helps with resistance, and it's important for us to be able to continue to have the and strive for the things that we want, just
Right,
like everyone else.
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's
Not
amazing.
not let
Yeah.
circumstances or other people or politics push you
Mm-hmm.
off of what path you've been wanting to
Yeah.
choose, or figuring out you want to choose.
Mhm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's courageous, but also it's courage in just doing what you would have done anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's so applicable in so many situations, but in today's what's going on right now, man, it's big because
Mhm.
It is.
it's just big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
big to just live the way that you would have chosen,
Mhm.
instead of being scared away or even delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and I think that also you've had thoughtful conversations about all of it. But when
mhm.
it comes right down to it, it's just about two people who love each other who want to have a child. You know what I mean? Because Juan and I had these endless conversations about what does it mean for two guys to adopt? Should we get a boy? Should we get a girl? Like, what will people say? You can kind of overthink it. And
Yeah.
it's nice to just love and have the child. It
Mm-hmm.
streamlines it and makes it wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a big theme and motivating factor is that I think about our ancestors. Just so many people in the world have experienced such just apocalyptic scenarios, right? And I think we always talk about apocalyptic stuff as like it's a world-ending thing, but there have been civilizations and groups of people who have gone through their own apocalypse, right? And the descendants are here today. Like we're here today because our ancestors decided to keep having kids
Right.
despite what was happening. And that's the same thing. And, I am very grateful also for our older LGBT folks who lived through the HIV AIDS epidemic. And just those people provided so much for me when I was in my youth. Being able to have queer chosen family and parents, even all the way out in Hawaii. I had a queer father named Maya, and later on in his 60s, raised a bunch of queer kids who were orphans or were struggling and was able to have family in that way. And it was unconventional, but it was effective, it was
Mm-hmm.
intentional, and it was life changing. And I think that's also where we're at, where we've really had to make huge medical decisions for ourselves as well as life decisions and the greater context of like upheaval. And I think what our narrative helps show is that as unknown as trans people are to the majority of the population in this country, is that the things that we want are actually really aligned with a lot of other people and a lot more familiar and yeah, just familiar than anyone would ever think. And so I think when you see it and we're right in front of you, it's like, oh, well, this is actually something very, very tangible and very familiar. And so I'm happy that we've been able to show folks that.
And even
Yeah.
just start the conversation around it, over the last month, I've had a few people be like, actually, we're also trying for a baby and it's another T for T couple or someone in the relationship is trans. And so it's nice to be able to talk about our experiences. And I often share the experience of the couple that we stumbled on and their article. But
Mm.
after that article and photo shoot came out, I messaged him and was just like, hey, we're going to start our journey. And he sent me paragraphs of
Oh,
advice. And it was so helpful. And a lot of it was stuff we were already doing and had already planned to do, like, making space for each other and making sure that there is a lot more dedicated, gentle space in our relationship as we go through all these changes, because it does bring up a lot of stuff. And it's interesting now being pregnant and having people reach out to us about our journey. And I've been screenshotting and sharing his advice and rereading it now. And it's interesting just reading it back 9 months later, like, okay, well, it is possible they did it and we did it. And there's already other people asking, like, how do you do it? How do you feel? What are the next steps? This is what we're thinking about. And I think that's also important, is to just be the outliers and be the folks that are resisting in other ways and being visible in other ways so that future generations have other people and other research to look back on.
In this generation, people who are similar to you and the choices that they've made need assurances, but document it, because people do learn best from other people's experiences.
And there's not a lot of resources out there. We're currently taking a 6-week traditional Hawaiian healthy hapai pregnancy class. It's nice to have that side of home reflected in birth classes for us this early on. And then later this year, we're going to be part of a winter cohort for a TGNC birthing class called Embodied Birthing something. It's a whole birthing series for trans parents and TGNC parents, and it's decolonized, it's trauma informed, it's a lot of medical self advocacy. And it's just something that we kind of stumbled upon, and we're like, okay, we need to do this because, there's seahorse dads or there's TGNC parents, but there's really not a lot of just T4T parents, and navigating that and navigating as someone who's had top surgery, I'm just going to be the birthing parent and she is going to breastfeed, and just also explaining that journey and just navigating that and being able to be the outliers and also build community that we didn't know was out there with other TGNC birthing parents.
And
Sure.
TGNC stands for transgender, gender nonconforming. It's kind of another umbrella term. Yeah.
Yeah, the term for this, though, is just love.
Mhm.
I can tell that you both really love each other, and it's,
Oh.
it is hard, I'm sure, for some people to visualize exactly what this is, but when you get down to the essence, it's so familiar.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, listen, thank you both so much for being here. This is such a beautiful journey that, any way that we can help document and show other people that this beautiful part of the world exists that most of us can't even imagine. So I think that any way we can do that, it would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love
Yeah,
that.
anytime,
Yes.
anytime. I love the three of you and always love getting to talk to you.
So great to see
Likewise.
both of you.
Yeah. Thank you
Yes.
so much. And really best of luck. Second trimester tends to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
So
It's already feeling better. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, that was
yeah.
rough.
So good luck with it all. You got
Thank
this.
you.
I can't stop
Ah,
smiling with them. They are so lovely. Oh my God. They're like contagious. Their happiness is contagious.
Yeah.
yeah, they're kind of like a zebra with the stripes and the different way. They're just glorious and beautiful. I mean, they're so unique and yet so simple and real.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe generationally, because I come from a different generation than you, but maybe it fits in your mind better, but it's a weird fit in my mind. And I'm so happy I was able to talk to them. It doesn't seem so weird anymore.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Like you said, when you see it boiled down and you hear them talking about, universal experiences, certainly not their path, but there's universal experiences going on. It becomes so clear. I mean, just instantly so clear. Like Christy said, you just feel it. You can just
Oh,
see
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Man, we lived amazing lives to be able to encounter all of these things to help stretch our, I was going to say imagination, but it's not imagination,
Right.
but
Right.
to stretch our realities. I mean, it's like so incredible.
They're so positive. I know Cherry's had fears in the past and has them now, obviously. But,
Yeah.
she's talked about that before, how visible to be and how to make choices and live in her space. And she just
Yeah.
did a cannonball into the deep end of the pool. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
And I feel like I always learn something new speaking to
Right?
them too. I was like, seahorse dad, I'd never heard before. And I was like, that's the best term. I want to use that
Yes.
all the time now. So good. Yeah. So lovely.
Thank you all.
All right. Get some sleep.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Dangerous Drag Queens and Other Deviants. To find out more, follow and like us on all our socials. And if you like what you hear, please be sure to share with a friend. That's all for now. Keep living dangerously and on your own terms.